Used to bag work about an apartment 5B.
You're now tuned into the Apartment 5B podcast, where we chop it up about hip-hop, R&B, sports, love and life. Hosted by Kill.
What's good? You tune in Apartment 5B podcast hosted by your man Q. I got a packed house in effect. As always, ladies first. Porsche, what's going on, miss?
Hey, how's it going?
Everything is good. I got my brother for the first time up here from the West Coast. Cash, what's going on, fam?
No about it. What's it? Thank you for having me.
Nah, always. I got my man Yentz out of NO. What's going on?
What's happening, everybody?
Got my brother Ev from the 215 out in Cali right now. What's good?
I'm back and I'm black. Ready to do it again, baby.
I got my man Eddie from the West Coast. What's good, fam?
What's good?
All right. I see your Giants put up 40 on them tonight, so that was easy.
Yeah.
Rec One, what's going on, DJ Rec One?
Ain't nothing, man. Hoping the Eagles can pull this thing out.
You and I both good, brother. So let's get into it. Portia, along with everybody else on Twitter, has accused me of being biased towards hip hop. And you know what? I am. I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Philly. I spent all my summers in Brooklyn, all the other time in Philly. So yes, I am biased towards the East Coast. But you know what? No, I'm not. Porsche, you run this. You take it from here. You take this from here. I don't want to say anything else. I admit my bias, but you're going to talk about how I think for everybody, and that's what I love about it. Rec is from Queens and New Jersey, but he's in Houston. Ed, where are you from? You're not from the West Coast, right?
Yeah, I'm from Brooklyn.
You're right. You're from Brooklyn, but you're in the West Coast. Yeah. Evan's from Philly, but he's on the West Coast. Portia's from Vancouver. Yentz is from NO. Cash is from Compton. So I'm loving that we have the gambit. But what I think happens a lot is that we think what we're playing in our section is what the rest of the world is playing. So like when Illmatic dropped, I thought the whole planet, the whole solar system was playing Illmatic. From Atlanta told me they wasn't really banging it like that out there. So I think there can be bias across the broad band because we think what we're banging, where we're at, is what the world is banging. What I've always said before, in my defense, and then I'm gonna give it to you, Porsche, is that I always looked at hip hop because it started out on the East, that everybody else had to accept that first. Then when it started to grow, so when it moved down south and when it moved out west and when it moved, out to Houston and everything, if that didn't spark my ears, I didn't feel like I had to adapt to that because I already had what I had. But Porsche, when you tell me, why do you think I'm East Coast biased so much?
Okay, so I mean, you pretty much said most of it, but I'm just going to clarify. So this whole entire thing started with Kill just listening to Tupac's albums for the first time in 2018,
yes.
Which just killed me. It just killed me. So I kind of got into it with Kill, and I was like, why are you so anti-Tupac? And he was like, I don't know, I just don't like it. And it's just bizarre to me that you wouldn't like Tupac as somebody who... Hold
tight. I'll just interrupt. I didn't like Tupac because it was the East Coast, West Coast beef going on, and I was East Coast. I was Biggie. This and Biggie are dissing the East Coast. I wasn't listening. I was rooting for the East Coast. I didn't want the West All-Star ball players to win. I was rooting everything West Coast.
Right. So
hip-hop, it was everything. So that's...
Right. So this sparked up this concept of, there very much is a regional bias in hip hop. We tend to gravitate towards a particular coast or region. And so this is where this conversation sort of came from. And then it started, and then there's all these little conversations about, we weren't banging this album over here in the West, but we weren't banging this album over here in the East. But it doesn't take away from the impact of the album, the impact of the artist, or the quality of the music. So this is where this show sort of came from. I personally think I mean, like you've already said it, you have a huge regional bias.
I admit it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I would like to hear probably from more from, I guess, Eddie, who was from New York and then is now out in the West. Cash is in Compton, so that's, you know, like he can totally speak to that. And then I'm from Canada, so these regional biases don't really happen in Canada so much. It's more in the US, but obviously I feel it as somebody who's been listening to hip hop since I was a kid. So yeah, you can go ahead.
And let me say this too, because here's the other thing that I think a lot of East Coast people are fronting on. I'm very open. Yes, I was biased, but I'll listen to anything. Portia, I listened to DJ Quik last week because of you.
Yes.
So okay. I will tell me to listen.
Good job. Good job. I told you.
Yes, and we are going to pick this apart. Now, for DJ Quik in general, the man had a perm. I'm going to just be honest with you. So I saw the album cover. The man had a perm. It's 1991. There's nobody rocking perms on the East Coast. I'm like, what the fuck? I will pay. So I am very honest with I look at you and you look like you can't fit, then I want to move on. I think the beef I have with a lot of East Coast people is their front. God bless the dead Rilo, my man who just passed 2 weeks ago. Me and him would argue all day on Twitter because he would be trying to tell me that at Morgan back in the 90s that he liked that down south masterpiece shit with them whack ass ads in the source that all of the Coast Cash used to laugh at. Now it's like cool. Now it's cool to be like, oh no, I love all the regions and I love hip hop and let's hug. Ev, you was at Morgan with me. What was niggas doing with the Master P ads?
Laughing at him.
Laughing at him.
Yeah. I don't remember playing that, but maybe he did. I don't remember that though.
Yeah, everybody was laughing at these ads. My man Ski from Brooklyn was like, nah, I always listen to DJ Quik. I'm like, time out. Come on, y'all. Now, I worked at the radio station with 7 other DJs who could play whatever the fuck they wanted, and nobody played any down south. We played West Coast. West Coast always got love. But as Nick would say, would be the West Coast that sounded East Coast. So we're going to talk about too, because I want to know how Cash feels about that. So let's start off with DJ Quik. Cash, you tried to explain this to me on Twitter with the perm. The perm. Okay, can you explain the perm to me?
Okay, first. Cash, I'm from South Central LA. My people would kill me if they think let me stay from Compton. They'll kill me. All right. Second, all right. Let me break down the perm epidemic. In the streets, when I was coming up, at least, the perm really signified a certain status. Anybody couldn't just walk around with the perm. You understand? You could be a gang member, you could be a hustler, a pimp, whatever, but that perm meant something. So when DJ Quik hit the scene with that perm, that was a statement. 1, because he had the perm. 2, he was the first really, you could say, mainstream blood rapper out of California, out of Los Angeles area. So extra hard, you know. So that's the phenomenon about the perm. I know niggas all across the country laughed at the perm and shit, just like the Jerry curl. We own that. That was us. You know what I mean? But that's what it was with the perm.
All right, see, that's good to know, because when we saw, well, I won't speak for nobody. When I saw the perm on the East Coast, I was like, what the fuck? We just got past you know, Q just finally got a baldy, you know, and I was like, okay, we are past the Jerry curls. Now here comes the perm. What the fuck? I had no idea that the perm meant. I had no idea dude was a blood. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's knowledge to me. Now, Rec, how did you feel about the perm? And you in Queens, what did you think about DJ Quik?
So the perm didn't really do nothing for me. Honestly, it's like you said earlier, the fact that his joints, like that Born and Raised in Compton, that shit hit hard. So for me, I was like, okay, he got a perm and he's wearing this trench coat, you know, triple fat goose Raiders jacket, but I can kind of get by the fact that he look a little different. The perm didn't do too much for me. It was just the fact that his beats was hard. Now, for me, I'm kind of like you. If it's something that I can gravitate towards, whether it sounds East Coast-ish or it's got some thump to it, I'll listen to it before I make a harsh decision on it. You know what I mean? But I've never really been a big Quik fan after that.
All right. Now, I will say this because everybody and their mother tells me Quik is like one of the dopest producers ever. This is something that is known throughout life, that he is one of the dopest producers ever. Of course, do you remember what album I listened to? I don't, but...
I don't remember which one you listened to, actually.
But it was good. Production-wise, it was good. It was good. I rocked with it. Ed, you're in Brooklyn. How did the perm affect you? And are you like me? Are you like Rec? Because I need to step out of my box, because if you don't look like you can rap, I won't even listen to you. And that's one of the things I always say on Twitter, and I say about Pac. I never get into the who's better, Biggie or Pac, because I got to be honest and say I never listened to a whole Pac album. So intelligently, I don't believe I can speak on it because I never heard the whole album. But what did you think about DJ Quik?
I didn't mind too much. I mean, honestly, with like you, I didn't really listen to a whole DJ Quik album until much later. You know, because just kind of going into it, like I was, you know, paying, you paying for albums, you're paying for stuff that kind of relates to you. But I heard some joints, I'm like, all right, that's cool. The thing that the perm didn't bother me, and I'm kind of surprised that it bothers some people, because you go back to these blaxploitation movies, you think of Superfly and the Mac, like they were rocking perms. I just thought it was a pimp thing.
Yeah, the only problem with that was 1970. Now we're in 1990. So that's
all right. Akil, let me speak on something.
All right.
This is the whole perm thing. This is what goes into the bias argument, and this is what a lot of artists on the West Coast, we feel that we have to fight for our place, where the East Coast feel like it's an ownership thing. Therefore, where someone that's not from the coast, they can look at the perm and dissect it where it's natural to us because that's where we're from, right? But being from the East Coast always had this ownership of hip-hop. It's the birthplace of hip-hop, so forth and whatever, right? So it was always able to, you know, pick through other regions, other areas with a fine-tooth comb and judge it, right? And I think that's where the bias comes in, because we have to fight for our place. Now, we spoke on the West Coast hip-hop that sounded more East Coast, Far Side, the Licks, Hieroglyphics, right? We love them too because it showed a diverseness, because a lot of them got sick of the same shit too. You know what I mean? Because it was very generic. It was like an assembly line almost, like everything sounds the same. And, you know, being boots on the ground, we knew a lot of this shit was fictitious and it wasn't what it was. So when the Souls of Mischief came out in the Licks and the Far Side, it was cool because we always knew we had people that could compete. You understand what I mean? Right. We always want to be competitive too, but it's just, you know, like the South with the lean and the chopped and screwed. That's their thing. I don't never understand it, but I don't think being a West Coast cat, we ever looked at it and like dissected it. You understand what I mean?
Right. Now tell me this. So y'all was cool with Souls of Mischief. Y'all never felt like, and again, I know you just speaking for you and your crew, but did you ever feel like, damn, these niggas, you know, trying to be, you know, because when I say I love West Coast hip hop, people will be like, yeah, you love the Licks, you love the Far Side, you love all them dudes who sounded like, because I'm not really up on that Oakland slang. So even when I heard
not at all, because it was a lot of that going on. It was always happening. It just wasn't being shown. You know, you remember back in those days with the Licks and the High Roads, everything was being pushed a certain way. The West Coast was gangster rap, that's it. That's why when those groups broke through, it was a big deal. But boots on the ground, it was always around. You know what I mean? That's how Corrupt, when he came here and, you know, kind of got with the scene, that's the circuit he came up under. You know, it's the cat named Otherwise that served Eminem at the Rap Olympics at Leimert Park, where a lot of that style come from, that you would probably say is more East Coast oriented. So it's been going on. You know what I mean? It just wasn't shown.
All right, so you was cool with it. Y'all was good.
Loved it. Because it's like, to me, it's like sports, or it's like kung fu. It's just different shit for different shit. You know what I mean? Like when we all hypothetically have our, okay, I'm gonna put this MC against this MC when we talking about turf and home. So it was good to know we had some spitters that can do what wasn't traditionally done at home. So I loved it. All right,
no doubt.
Can I ask a quick question to Cash? Just a quick question. being over here and living in LA for some time and back and forth, what I realize is that, and a lot of people from the East Coast don't realize this, is how different it is from Oakland to LA. A lot of times they tend to like package those two areas together. Does it feel like that for y'all, for people like in South Central and Compton? Does it feel like that?
Yeah. The thing, I don't even understand it, but the Bay and LA is two different worlds, and it's almost offensive to even lump them in because the Bay is very proud and they do what they do. Like the fresh out the truck, that was them. That was them. That was their game, and then we do what we do down here, and it's a Cold War. It's no beef. We coexist. You know, some people work, some don't, but it's like a different. I wouldn't even say Jersey and New York because that's even like, more intertwined than I would say the Bay and LA.
Yeah, I think to me, I always really like kind of like Outcast and like Gangstar. It's on the same coast, but it's too, like it's so much distance in between New York and Atlanta that you want to get two different sounds. And that's kind of how
exactly.
That's a good point too, Ed, because whenever I think of West Coast hip hop, I just lump it all in. Like that's why I'm saying those are Mischief and the Licks, even though they from, you know, I just look at Cali, like it just, you know, look big on the map, but I ain't really realized that it's like you said, different sections like that. Ev, tell me this, man. How was you feeling about Cash? Like, do you feel like you have an East Coast bias? Because you've lived in LA twice in your life. So do you feel like you have an East Coast bias?
At this point?
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Tell me this. Did you when we went? What about now?
Yeah, you know what?
I'm recording a live show.
I think where I fell in place was the cats who appreciated or liked, because there was a lot of cats in LA that I liked, but having the show, I realized they were most of those groups that had that East Coast sound, like the Alcoholics, like the Hieroglyphics. I was a huge Cube fan, but that's, you know, my introduction to Cube came through Bomb Squad.
Right.
So of course you're gonna be a huge Cube fan. So I realized I really like the vernacular. I like the MCs. I love the MCs out of there. And I guess for me, the production was palatable because it still had an East Coast feel to it. So to answer your question, probably, yeah, I probably did. You know, because for me it was a different perspective. But I think if I can take us a step further, I think a lot of that too is the music that our parents grew up listening to, because a lot of that is like most of us sampled the shit that we heard our parents play.
Right.
So my parents was playing a lot of you know, OJs and shit like that, whereas on the West Coast they playing a lot of P-Funk. So of course the music is going to have that element to it, and of course the music on the East Coast is going to have a different element to it. So I think that plays a part in it too. But to answer your question, Kill, yeah, because I realized the cast, because there's a lot of West Coast shit that I love, but now thinking about it, it was stuff that the production-wise had a little bit of an East Coast feel to it.
All right, so tell me this. What is West Coast hip-hop that doesn't have an East Coast feel to it? What would you say that is, Cash?
That doesn't have an East Coast feel to it, like currently or in the past? Like
in the past, like in the 90s. Like I feel like DJ Quik sound like alcohol.
I would say DJ Quik. I would say earlier Compton Most Wanted stuff. Everything Cube post Bomb Squad, because you know he jumped through phases where he does different things. But there was a lot of stuff. The Mac 10s, the Dub C's. You had there's so much that was not East Coast influence.
Warren G.
And then I'm tripping because I'm not even counting the Bay. Once again, the Too Shorts, the E40s, the Mac Dre's. You know, the list goes on. The Warren G's. It was a lot.
Yeah. Side note: the thing is everybody you name it is the shit I didn't listen to. Literally, everybody you just read now. And again, it's just, I think it's like F said, it's the sound. Like, it's funny because when Childish Gambino dropped his last album, I was talking to Nick, and he was like, yeah, a lot of people don't like it, that's the shit we grew up on. And I'm like, y'all grew up on the funk? And he was like, yeah, and that's what Ev was saying. In Philly, we didn't play a lot of funk. We didn't get a lot of Bootsy and all of that stuff like they did on the West Coast. You know what I mean? So I think that, like you said, like that East Coast bias kind of creeps in everywhere. Now, like you said, for you, Porsche, you're in Vancouver, so I don't know, like, what is it for you? Like, you just liked everything?
I mean, we got everything. So we got like all of the West Coast stuff that was coming out. We got all the South stuff that was coming out. We got, of course, we were like bombarded with East Coast stuff because that's where it all started. But we
or did you like it?
See, here's the thing. I think the Tupac Biggie thing had a lot to do with, there was a big divide. And that was really divisive for hip hop in general. So even myself, like, I gravitate towards the Eastern, like, you know, the East Coast rappers, but I always like that G-Funk, like that, I don't know how to call it. It's like that synthesizer sound that Dre's so good at using, or whatever it is. Like, there's just a bounce to that East Coast can never do. And if they tried, they probably couldn't do it properly. Like, I don't know. It's just such a it's just such a good West Coast feel when you hear like a Dre beat drop and then you hear that synthesizer on it. I don't know. But we got everything here. Like, that's why I love that I chose to have a regional bias for some period of time, but it wasn't because I was not, exposed to it. I was exposed to all of it, which is amazing. Like, I had, Outcast, all the South, so Scarface, everybody from the South, as much as from the West, as much as from the East. So, yeah.
Hey, Porsche, can I ask Porsche real fast? Porsche, in the 90s, I've never been to Vancouver. What did Vancouver look like in the 90s culturally? Did it look like, was it more of an East Coast type of cultural look, or was it more?
No, it's way more West Coast. Like, okay. And here's the thing with Vancouver, the hip hop culture is not really huge here. So any hip hop we're getting is coming from Seattle.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So even now, like, as much as hip hop is, impacted everything all over the place, Vancouver is still like, where are you going to find a hip hop scene here? You're not. So everything we get, we still sort of have to look for. It's always been that way here in Canada. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's just, except for maybe Toronto, which I've never been in Toronto for extended periods of time, so I don't know. But I hear their hip hop scene is pretty good over there, just because of how close it is to New York. But
and I'm sure Drake plays a part in them having a big hip hop scene.
Yeah, now.
Yeah,
now,
I mean,
other artists that came
how old is Drake?
Him,
like 18? How old is the guy? I don't even know how old he is. Let's not talk about Drake.
Hey, Portia, I wanted to piggyback off of something that Portia touched on, because you're mentioning the West Coast sound, the Dre sound, the funk and the bounce, but it made me think about early EPMD, and even branching off of EPMD, like the first Redman album, all that stuff that had P-Funk influence to it, right? So that was East Coast. And Kill, so I know you said you like those albums. What was the difference for you between that style of funk and what the West Coast was doing?
I mean, I think for me, and it's hard to say, man. Like, when I heard what's the name of that crew? With Q got with WC,
West Side Connection.
Like, that production, and it's weird because even when I'm like was doing this stuff for the genre show, I'm like, okay, where would I put this person and where would I put that person? Like, I really, when I would hear the singles, it didn't give me that boom bap feel that I wanted. Like, when I heard like You Gots to Chill, it was like, and that's the thing with EPMD, that shit was a smorgasbord. That whole first album was literally, like they said, just records we got from our parents. We ain't go digging. It was like, you got fucking ZZ Top getting sampled, you got, More Bounce to the Ounce getting sampled. So it just had a feel to it that, like, everybody that Cash just named, the Mac Dre's, the Too Shorts, the E40s, like, production wise, that just never grabbed me. You know what I mean? So, and even when people say Dre, when I listen to the Chronic, outside of that synthesizer sound, it's still very East Coast to me. When I get for the G thing, that doesn't sound like a West Coast beast. Now, Dre Day does, but when I hear Let Me Ride, I don't hear West Coast then maybe people can't take the synthesizer out of the song, but because I have the records, when I'm listening to like Nothing But a G thing to sample, I'm like, damn, I wish I would have used that. You know what I mean?
I got a point. I got a point, Kill, though. Look, because what Portia said, I want to piggyback off what Portia said also is, I don't think nobody was really even tripping on anything until the Biggie Tupac incident. And I'm going to go back a little further than the EPMD production, because before you had to pick a side, nobody was paying attention. I'm going to go to X-Clan's first album. That album had so much funk that, I mean, that shit was like a blueprint to a classic West Coast album way before its time, right? But I'm thinking at the time, nobody was even paying attention to that because it was just a dope album, dope production, you know? But once that line was drawn, right, then people start feeling like, you know, possessive over their hip-hop. Almost like you said, you didn't want the West Coast All-Stars to win in basketball. That's how it got when the shit flared up, you know what I mean?
And then I think it's too, like, even being in Philly, the only West Coast, because I didn't have no cousins. All my cousins was in Brooklyn. So maybe if I had cousins in LA and I spent time out there, I would have seen it different. But for me, West Coast hip hop, I just saw that through the eyes of Breaking. You know what I mean? So the only rapper I really knew from the West Coast prior to NWA was Ice-T. You know what I mean? I really wasn't a big Ice-T fan. Like, you know, 6 in the morning, you know, all that stuff. But that was not stuff that I was going back in the day when I'm DJing a party. I'm not throwing on Ice-T. You know, now when NWA came, I'll never forget when DOC came out, we all was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? Like, this dude can spit. And that beat is hard as shit. That's what I mean by.
And he wasn't even from the West. He's from Dallas.
Right. But the thing was, the beat, that beat sounded hip. It sounded East Coast. You know, to me, Dre's whole sound in the beginning sounded.
That DLC's first album is some of Dre's best production. That DLC's first album is pristine.
Like, and I mean, even when you straight out of Compton, it's a very heavy Bomb Squad influence. So even when people showed me NWA, I'm in the 9th grade in '88. My man Jerome was like, "Yo, check these dudes out." I'm like, "Nigga, they got Jerry curls. What am I checking them out for?" Like,
okay, but right. But I got like, what did you feel about Master Ace Slaughterhouse album, the Sitting on Chrome shit? Because like to some of us feel like that was him making a parody West Coast album. Some of us believe that shit was just banging. What was your thoughts on that shit? Because I love that album.
You know what? To be honest, I ain't really like it. And here's the thing. Hey, I'm honest. That's all y'all.
Hey, he's honest. He's honest.
Because I think a lot of times and I always give people this analogy. If you go out to dinner and you ask for a Sprite and the waiter brings you water, when you taste that water, your mouth is ready for a Sprite. I think there's anything wrong with the water. Not that there's nothing wrong with the water, but your mouth was ready for this. So when I'm hearing another Master Ace album, I'm expecting to hear what I just kind of heard, like on Take a Look Around. So I just wasn't ready for it. So maybe if I go back out, I would be on it like that. But when I first heard it, it kind of was just like, yo, what Ace doing, man? It kind of was like, it's like Q went out east and G-Rap went out west and everybody again, it was just one of those things that the sound, like I said, when I heard Straight Outta Compton, the beats was so Bomb Squad-ish that I looked past Jerry curls. I looked past all of that. The dudes could rhyme. The beats was dope. And that's all I cared about. So I know for me, that was my first intro to the West Coast. Yo, so Rec, what was your first intro to West Coast hip-hop, being from Queens?
I would say probably NWA, man. Express Yourself, because I'm probably 10 at that time. So that summer is when Express Yourself came out. I don't think I understood it was West Coast hip hop. Now, if you asking me as far as when I knew there was a difference, I'm gonna say The Chronic. From a sound standpoint, that's when I realized, okay, this is probably what the West is supposed to sound like, as opposed to the East.
Okay. And yes, what about you? You're in New Orleans, so you're just in the middle, smack dab in the middle of everything. Be honest, man. I know you in New Orleans, and I don't want you to get jumped after work or whatever. But did you really like that Lil Wayne, like the Hot Boys when he was Little Wayne? Like, did you like that stuff?
No. Now, let me give you to you like this. I'm one of the older cats on the panel. So me coming up, there was no Cash Money. There was no Master P. I'm getting stuff from the East Coast just like it was. I'm getting stuff off the West Coast. And my West Coast, my earliest, Ice-T, Toddy T. I don't know if anybody ever heard of Toddy T.
Yeah.
Never heard of Toddy.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Battle Round.
Coast, beginnings of West Coast. Now I didn't.
The battle.
As far as the sound, Battle Round. Yeah. As far as the sound goes, I never really, paying attention to I knew it was from California because, like we talked about before, everybody's aligning those junkies, so you're gonna get where these dudes are coming from. I rocking that perm on the album cover also. But no, as far as Hot Boys and Master P, and you gotta remember too, when Master P first came out, Master P was out in California before he came back home to New Orleans. So what he brought back was a California Bay Area sound. And then after he started developing, since he was home and he was getting talent from home, it was bringing out New Orleans. And then you had Cash Money come, and that was straight up just, New Orleans sound music, bounce music is what we call it here. But
here's the thing. So you didn't like it. So even though that's your home and that's your bounce sound, you didn't like it. Why?
Because being older, everything I heard early on, I'm getting all of Run DMC. Hot Boys didn't sound like Run DMC. I grew up on Run DMC, so when I hear Run DMC and then I hear Hot Boys, man, that shit ain't. I didn't like it. Straight up, I didn't like it. I got respect for them. They make your money. I'm all for that. But I didn't like it initially. My early coming up was everything coming from the East and West, and majority East Coast.
All right.
That's what it was.
Now, Porsche, what about you? Were you feeling the Hot Boys and Lil Wayne way back when they first came out and they was in the Source?
Not really, to be honest. I still don't. I don't love Lil Wayne. It's okay. I didn't like them not when I first heard them.
I'm talking this type stuff right here. These type ads that you can do in the Source.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But I was gonna say
that look like they paid $8 to get it done. And that's how we used to look at them. Like, yo, why they got these cheap ads? Like, even 666 Mafia. Where's 3-6 Mafia from? They from
Memphis. They're from Memphis. They're from Memphis.
No, let me ask you something. What they got to do with the sound, though? If you saw somebody and you never heard their music, what they got to do with it?
It's the presentation.
Yeah,
it's presentation.
Oh, bro, that's bullshit.
I
think that's an East Coast thing, man.
I told you from the door. I told you from the door. Y'all can call people.
That's an East Coast thing.
If the president take it off, if you come to
that's East Coast thing.
Say something to you. You talking on the phone with Shorty, right? You never seen her. You like her, good personality, all that good shit. And then you meet her, and the presentation don't look right. You still kicking it, and maybe
that's different. So, no. When you talking to her, that's looking at the album cover. Then when you get there, you got the sound. Then when you hear it and you meeting Shorty, then you can say, "Oh fuck no, I ain't fooling with this."
I can say this: I saw this, and then I saw Rap City and heard it, and didn't like it too.
Oh, okay, see now before you just say you're
Oh no! I said like Brett said, presentation to me, just little old me. Remember, we are not trying to sway, kill anyway anymore. Those days are long gone. Those days are
one.
Why? Because I started blocking motherfuckers left and right. It has been for the past 2 weeks. Okay. I am like that. I am Shallow Hal. Did y'all see the movie Shallow Hal?
Funniest shit in the world.
Yes. When I saw Drake, I said, "Who this light skinned nigga? Light skinned niggas can't rap." And maybe that don't sound like to some people. Why? I don't give a fuck. That's what I felt. And then I listened, and about 9 or 10 different people said, "Yo, listen to Drake." And I listened to him. I said, "Yo, this dude is dope." Sorry, Porsche, but I'm like, "Yo, this dude is dope." And that's what when I heard, on Rap City, keep in mind that, yes, this is back in the day. All that stuff got mixed together. I don't know what it was about MC8. Maybe it was that jig, maybe that was that voice. But
MC8 is dope.
Something that stood out to me even with that West Coast sound that just sound, and people may not know, MC8's last album that Premier Executive produced was dope. That thing was dope. You know,
Which way is West?
And it had some West Coast shit on it too. Like,
which way is West?
Right. So, when you saw these ads, you was hyped for this? You was hyped for this?
No, not at all. Not at all. The only ad that I dug was Mercedes. And over that car. Yeah, that's the only ad I dug. Other than that, man, I'm like you. Presentation is big for me, even now. You know, like I'm getting this DJ culture kind of up and running with a couple of cats out here, and a lot of guys will come to us and say, "Hey, man, play my stuff." And I'm like you. I'm looking at him from head to toe, like, all right, what's he wearing? What's he look like? I can't help it. Look
at this ad for Chico DeBarge. Who was buying GSL with an ad like this? Like, there's a big difference between this ad and a Nietzsche or a Mecca or, Carl.
Right. It's part of the uniform. And if it looks or smells something that's not like the uniform, then no, I was not.
Well, you got to remember too, like,
I'm sorry. What was it about Busta's presentation that made you say, "Oh hell yeah, I'm fucking with him with that big 4,000-gallon hat on"?
That's a Jamaican thing. Big hats is a Jamaican thing. That's East New York all day.
I'm saying that presentation that said something to you. That's
if I can jump in, I feel like we're having a marketing conversation. It's all about who you're marketing to.
Correct.
Like if 36 Mafia is doing or Master, I don't know who that was up there. They're marketing to a certain demographic. So it obviously is not. They're not marketing to an East Coast demographic. They may not be marketing to a Chicago demographic. They may be marketing to down south demographic. And for whatever reason, it works. You know what I mean? So they're planning and their thing. So I think just to bring it in is like, we got to remember when you start talking about marketing, you got to think about who's the demographic that they're trying to speak to.
Correct. And the thing about that is those ads were cheap.
Those ads, and you got cats in the East Coast that love it. How do you explain it?
I'm sorry, you said
marketing doesn't have to do. I don't think it's a completely black and white thing. I don't think it's only for this demographic and no one else is going to gravitate to it.
I agree. Yeah, that makes total sense. That's what I'm saying. So if a cat in Brooklyn sees that Hot Boys Pen and Pixel album cover and he listens to it and likes it, and somebody else might see the same thing and say, "Oh hell no, that's like $2." Then what are we talking about?
But hold tight for a second. But yes, what's the moral? Like, what's the moral of the?
The moral is it don't matter what you look at. Once you hear it, then you make the decision. So that's what I believe. Although that cat in Brooklyn might have saw that $2 shitty looking album cover, he put the music in, listened to it, and said, "You know what? I fuck with this."
Well, here's the problem. Here's the big thing that people are missing with presentation. We are not living in the MP3 days. So when you want to buy that album, you want them to put it in. That means I brought it. So if you think I'm buying an album that doesn't look good, well, maybe I'm just the only person up here who's not spending $18.99 on a CD.
Well, you said you would
that don't look good. So, so that's the thing. So that's why presentation
at that time, yes.
Days when I could go and listen to you on iTunes. So at the end of the day, to me, this was a whack out. This was a whack ad, and this was live from Linux. This was Dame Grease's group from New York, and this was a whack ad. So to me, presentation, if you didn't have a video or something I could co-sign, when I first heard All City, I didn't know who they were, but I saw produced by Premier, produced by Pete Rock. That was the co-sign. It's the same thing now. I still need a co-sign. It's too much hip hop, especially in those days, man. You spending $16 a pop on a CD. Like, I can't gamble and think, okay, this black album cover is gonna come with dope music. I came from an era where dope album covers equal dope music. You know what I mean? So if the album cover is whack, I'm not buying it. Rack, was you buying it?
Nah, and it was worse for me because back then, like you just said, we didn't have MP3. So if I'm in the record store and the record store doesn't allow me to hear the record, I can only go off what I see. And if what I see does not look right, or like Kill said, doesn't have the cosign, I'm not in a record pool at this time, so I can't afford to waste that slot of what I'm gonna play because the music I'm buying, I have intentions on playing. So yeah, presentation back then had a lot to do with it because it was so much at stake. Now, like you said, it's garbage everywhere, so you got to sift through that shit. But back then, the cosign was real. You had to have that.
Wait, so I just have a question. So these out, and I hate that I have to bring this up, but I really got to bring it up. So you're telling me that you see an album cover with the side profile of Drake's face looking like he took it with a selfie on an Android phone against
Which album we talking
backdrop. I have no idea. It's
nothing was the same, I think, right?
I have no idea. It's like against
I'm not a Drake
blue
fan,
sky. It's like a blue sky, and then Drake's Android Sims looking face. You're telling me you saw that and you were like, "This is the dopest album cover."
No. I'm talking pre MP3, pre iTunes, pre Napster, pre ShareBear.
To do that now, and you guys are still talking about Drake's dope. This is dope. Like album covers, you cannot tell me that.
I never said Drake was dope.
No, you didn't, but other people have.
I like Drake, but here's the thing: by the time that album cover came out, Drake already had his audience. So what I'm talking about, as far with these ads, the first time I'm speaking for me, the first time me and my peoples in Philly saw anything about Lil Wayne or the Hot Boys or Master P was through those ads, and the ads didn't look dope. The ads didn't say at the bottom produced by Dr. Dre or produced by a big name producer to co-sign it. So it's bad enough that the album. I'll give you a great idea. Ice-T. You know why so many people I knew brought that album cover? Because of Darlene. You gotta have
right.
Again, presentation, everything.
Okay, well, look, Kill. As far as the early them pen and pixel covers, over here in Cali, it's a big, it's all about the system, the cars bumping up and down the street. So niggas out here will play whatever will make their trunk rattle, right? So that's how we got put on to a lot of shit on the South, because they had that deep 808 and that different sound. Right. So I was on Manny Fresh and Cash Money UNLV shit, because niggas over here was bumping shit like that. Niggas talk Lil Wayne, they was like, if you really knew they movement, BG is the nigga over there. He was always the best nigga there. You know what I mean? He's the GOAT. But that's how it wasn't about the covers. Over here, it was all about, you hear shit in the streets. What's that? Oh, let me put you on. And sometimes you get in a nigga car, these is tape decks and CDs, right? You ain't just pulling out CDs like play this. You have to hear whatever the nigga was playing if you was moving with that person. So that's how we got put on to a lot of shit. We didn't have the luxury of, looking at the cover first and seeing if we're gonna deal with it. We had to actually hear it and then find it. You understand what I mean?
But check this out though. Y'all never had no record store where you bring the 12-inch to the turntable. And
Not all of them had
we
that.
Did.
Not all of them had. Armand's was like that.
Sam
Sound
Goody.
Market was like that. Sam Goody was not like that.
Out here was.
Not out here. No.
Bring that 12-inch to the turntable.
And I did that. But for some of them joints, no bueno, homie.
All I was
No. If it was something that I kind of was half and half on, I would listen to it. If I didn't like it, I didn't like it. Case in point, Juvenile. I fucks with Juvenile hard. But
I'm saying, look, if the music is bad, the music is bad. I'm not
correct
to purchase bad music. I'm saying listen to it.
Yes.
And I agree with you.
Here's the thing. What are we not doing? We are not trying to convince Kill. We aren't. So at the end of the day, the whole time, because we're still talking about covers. The covers are gone. We're done with covers. Covers are gone. I didn't like it. I didn't listen to it. You didn't like the shit. You said yourself you didn't like it.
That's right.
Right. So at the end of the day, we both got the same more.
I heard it.
And I heard it too on Rap City, and I didn't like it. Rap City was the MP3 from the day. So when I heard E40 and I heard the song video, I said, I don't like that. I'm not gonna like it. So I heard it too. So
if you listen and you don't like it, fine. I'm good with that.
Okay. Porsche. what you were saying about Drake and the album cover. The album cover is whack. Drake makes horrible album covers. I don't think nobody cares about cover art anymore.
No, but all I'm saying is that all I was trying to say was that album covers don't necessarily correlate to good music, and it's never been that way. But I do understand that when that's what you have to go off of, then sure, it may hold some weight, but it's not always correlated. Just because an album had such a dope album cover doesn't mean the music was equally as dope. Maybe that's something that influenced us when we were listening, but it's not always correlated. That's all I was trying to say.
And then I think too, because Vegas made a great point about this CD. He said when he saw this CD, he thought it was a bootleg because the album cover was so whack. He was like, this is a whack album cover. It's like Dr. Dre with some stencil around them or something like that.
But you know the story with that album cover, right?
That's from like rolling papers, right?
Yeah, it's rolling papers.
It's a zigzag cover. So that was like the epitome of California at the time.
Yeah, there's stoner shit.
Coming up off of like, you know, getting all this buzz and popularity around the bud that they had. And then Dre, Jesus. Oh my gosh. Dre goes and does this album cover with the zigzag cover with his face on it. It was brilliant. It was brilliant for the time.
Okay, well, see, I ain't know nothing about no zigzags. All we did was smoke Philly blunt, so I didn't know what zigzag was.
Right. Culturally.
Again, like you said, Cash, cultural. Like,
That's cultural.
I had no idea. And Vegas was like, yo, that's a big album. I ain't buying that. So, you know, again, if it was Philly blunt paper, I would have understood that better. But tell me this. So, with the whole split with the East Coast, West Coast, when did it become cool now? Because I feel like what a lot of people do is now it's like, oh, I listen to all that shit. Like at the radio station. I mean, recent people who would be at the radio station with me, now they're on Twitter talking about, oh, I always listen to DJ Quik. No, the fuck you didn't. No, you didn't. And if you did, you hit it because you never came up to the radio station like, play this. You know what I mean? So when did you think, because somewhere along the line, it became cool that you like everything. Like I don't bring it back to it may come back to the hater made up, but when do y'all think it became cool to now say, oh, I listen to him? What do you think, Av?
I think that's a good question. I think as we got older, you know, as we became more open, I think a big part of this conversation is you're going to be extra biased. We were all young boys listening to whatever we were listening to. So, and you're not gonna necessarily step too far out of what your crew's listening to. So if your crew ain't really rocking with it like that, you may rock it on the low when ain't nobody around, but you're not going to be outward open doing it. So I think that plays a big part. But I would say, for me, it was actually sampling is what opened me up to all different types of music. Because once you search the sample, you start to appreciate the original. And once you appreciate the original, you have to realize you were listening to something that was not hip hop. So if you like that, then shit, what else do I like? You know, I like Mac. Let me go over here. I like this P-Funk shit. I like, let me go down. Like, it's so many different variations of music that you're going to start to enjoy. So I would say for me, it was like probably early 20s. Like, let me just listen to everything and see what else is out there.
All right. What about you, Ed?
I think for me, to be honest, I started getting expanded in my taste for hip hop once I joined the Marines. Because I joined the Marines in '98, went out. So there was already like what came out in '98. I think. Yeah. I mean, but as far as like other regions, I think that was Outcast. Was that was the one before Stank Community, right? That was Aquemini. Did that come out '98? Yeah. So Aquemini was like the first Outcast album I bought, and I really got put onto it. Like I had heard some songs and stuff, but I started meeting people from all over. People from the West Coast, people from down south, people from all over the place. And, you know, I didn't have a car. So I think someone mentioned, you know, you get in someone's car, you've got to listen to what they're playing. So I started hearing, you know, the other down south stuff, like the Master P from New Orleans, the Cash Money stuff. Some of it I liked, some of it I didn't. So I started kind of realizing, all right, these are the situations where I really fuck with this music, and other stuff I don't. But it really kind of opened me up to at least appreciate it. And when you're able to talk to someone, you understand, all right, this person comes from this other culture. This is the context of what the music means to them. You know, you could really appreciate it more.
And I think you make a good point by saying joining the Marines, because now you're around people from all over the world. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm at Morgan. Morgan is heavily New York, New Jersey, Philly, DC. Like that's 80% of the campus is those places. And I think another great point you brought up is being there, because when I first came to Morgan and I'm out here with all these DC people, I hated go-go.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, Ev, I don't know if you remember when they had the go-go part of the party. It was like this go-go stuff is whack. And Phil, one of my DC niggas, took me to a go-go. You know what I mean? And to actually be there around that, it's hard for you to sit there. It's kind of like what I hear people tell me this about hockey. They're like, if you go to a hockey game, you will get into it. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard not to. Watching it on...
No, you won't. I've been to a hockey game.
No.
I've been to a Canucks game, and I promise you on my life, I walked out of there, I was like, never again, and I don't care.
Okay. All right, well, I may be wrong, but being that, so y'all gotta understand, it's like, even when like I'm getting out into the work world, it's the first time me really dealing with white folk, because I went to an all-black private school, an all-black high school, an all-black college. So you gotta understand that I'm around the same group of people. So what Ed is saying is so ill to me, because it's like, yeah, you're gonna have roommates and people on your squad that are from LA, that are from down south, that are gonna be playing their music, and eventually, even if you don't love it, it's at least giving you the open ear to listen to it. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I'll be the first one to admit, I do have closed ears. I don't have a lot of time in my day. I want to enjoy the music I like. So it's like, like Portia says, hey, try DJ Quik. I will. I listened to it on the ride home, gave it a thumbs up. I gave that thing like 2.5 months. Will I go back to it? I don't know. But, you know, it was good. It was better than what I expected. Now, Vern, tell me this, man. With the East Coast stuff, did you love, like, the groups like Cypress Hill and groups like that? You know, how did they get love on the West Coast?
Well, Cypress Hill was interesting because, you know, them being a Hispanic group or whatever, that was one, because before them, all we had was like Mellow Mayonnaise, Kid Frost, like that. So Cypress Hill was just big because Cypress Hill was big and different. One, they were lyrical and their production was unheard of. Muggs was nuts. Like, that was some shit nobody ever heard. So then they were just so pro weed that, you know, me coming up, I wasn't like, I caught on to the weed shit late, but the people above me, they knew what Cypress Hill was talking about, so real quick. But I think that Hand on the Pump shit was undeniable, man. It was violent enough. It was some West Coast shit. It was gangster shit. It was some essays telling their story. We ate it up over here, man. It was never no issue with Cypress.
All right. And the funny thing too is, I fuck with Cypress hard too when they came out.
Yes, sir.
Man, it was just, you know, Columbia had a roster, and when they rolled them out, just that video with the old Cadillac, it was just like the shit I said about Griselda. If it was presented right, it was perfect, you know, and it worked. Look at the logos.
I feel like there's a couple of groups like that, like Outcast first album. It didn't sound like East Coast music. It sounded like from where they was from. But to me, and I could be wrong, I feel like globally, people really fuck with Outcast first album.
Right.
To me, I was like, yo, I fuck with this. So like, there are some groups that come out and just do what they do from their section of the world and keep true to their sound, but people just eat it up. And I feel like there's a couple groups that slip through. Cypress is one, Outcast is another. I'm sure there's a couple of them out there.
You know, the funny thing about Cypress, they were saying how they weren't getting any love anywhere until Juice came out. And then when Juice came out and they had that How I Could Just Kill a Man in Juice, that's when it really blew up. You know what I'm saying? That's when it really took off. So it needed that push. And I remember B Real's talking about that, just how big that push was for that. And Vern, another thing that you brought up that's different, and Nick put me onto this, is he was saying down south in Atlanta, they drive a lot. You know what I mean? So they need that riding music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's like, that's what's different than y'all up north niggas. Y'all on the train, y'all on the bus. Like, nah, now
Headphones.
Yeah, headphones and everything like that. Where it's like down south, and what y'all saying about having to get in somebody's car and you got to ride out. That music is different than that. But again, it's just strange to me because like I said, when Illmatic dropped, I thought everybody was banging that. You know what I mean? I thought West Coast, East Coast. So what was it like when Illmatic dropped for you, Cash, out in South Central?
Well, for me, like the crew I was running with, we like over here, it was never a biased thing because we listened to everything just to get a peek into the other parts of the world. You understand? We knew what it was at home, so we knew listening to a Run DMC or a KRS-One. Okay, I'm from South LA. When I'm gonna get to the Bronx, but he could paint this picture, so I'm listening. So we always listen to everything. So around the time Illmatic dropped, it was loud from the Live at the Barbecue shit. You know what I mean? And, you know, rap pages and Word Up, all that. Like, Mouse was kind of prepped up before it dropped. So when Illmatic dropped, it was, I think it was pretty much the same for those of us that has, I would say, a refined taste for hip hop above the surface level of what we see here. We could appreciate it just as much as everybody else for what it was, because it was a great piece of work. So, you know, speaking for me, not the, you know, and you know, the people like me, we loved it because it was definitely a masterpiece album. And it was and I think it was and it was also a big statement for the East Coast because, like I said, Mouse was propped up. He was like the chosen one. So we paid a lot of people paid attention to that.
Now tell me this: during the whole East Coast West Coast beef, did you know of people like me on your side that was like, yo, fuck? Because it was funny, Porsche. I want to say I got on to listening to All Eyes on Me because somebody from the West Coast said they had never heard Ready to Die because they felt like I did. Like, well, nah, nigga big, he dissing us. I'm not fucking him. Cash, did you know any people that I'm just a loyal nigga, too far loyal, but did you know any West Coast people who was like, nah, man, I ain't messing with that East Coast stuff while the whole
kill to this day, look, to this day, man, niggas over here are so tribal just to begin with. You understand? Like, that's just a thing here. Niggas is just tribal to begin with. So when that jumped off, it wasn't nothing but, you know, I guess you say business as usual. A lot of niggas was on that to this day. I mean, to this fucking day. If you had the fucking Biggie Tupac argument, if it's alive anywhere, it's alive in California. Because niggas did not let that go. You understand? So, yeah, when that shit was popping off, it was a million niggas like you that was not trying to hear shit, you know, and you know, you can remind them like, nigga, you was just bumping Redman 2 weeks ago, that shit bumped. No, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, a lot of niggas put the blinders on when that shit popped off.
Man, and it's still like that to this day. I mean, I know it's not all like that, but
well, not to this day. It's hard to do it because everything is so intermingled. You know, like we ain't in the day where niggas sit down and make whole albums with one cat, one producer. Everybody's intermingled, and the way niggas rhyme now with the Nipseys and the Kendricks, the influence is persistent from every region, if you could say, every major region at least. You hear tinges of Texas and Nipsey and Kendrick as well as East Coast influences. So it's hard to push that line now. But you still got your diehards that, you know, when that Control shit popped off, you best believe niggas over here was ready for World War II. They was ready. They wanted it to go down again, but it didn't happen.
Yo, man, I gotta say, man, I hated that fucking war. I hated that shit. To this day, I hate that shit, man. And like when it jumped off, I just was so irritated because it was so much music on both sides that was dope, and now everybody's drawing a line. I hated that. Yeah,
it's a war of opinion, and you can never make no sense out of a war of opinions. But like you said, so much quality music was lost in the shuffle. So much potential was lost in the shuffle. Like to this day, you know, it like I remember waking up and they said what happened at the Peterson Automotive Museum over there off of Wilshire with Biggie. I remember waking up that morning and they saying that shit. And me, like, Biggie's top Q, Biggie, no, Nas Q, Biggie, then Scarface. That's my top two. literally cried when that shit happened. And the funniest part about it is niggas over here knew if he came, we knew like this is not that kind of place. Like you can't be that big in that part of that whole conflict and come walk around over here. It's not gonna. It's not that kind of place. I don't know if you remember. It was an All-Star game and NBA All-Star weekend. I think it was 2006 or something. Niggas robbed Kirk Franklin. You understand? Niggas was out here robbing everybody. You understand? So that's what I heard about the tribal shit. Like,
they robbed Kirk Franklin?
My nigga, listen, niggas, Cameron, niggas was buying their chains back. That week, that NBA All-Star, I think it was Staples in the first open, and they first hosted it. Niggas was getting wiped out. Kirk Franklin got wiped out. You remember he was big at that time.
Stomp,
he was doing, stomp and all that. Niggas was getting washed at the W. Niggas was getting wiped out. So, yeah, over here niggas is tribal, man, and a lot of niggas is, they just territorial. They just want something to fight for, and that's the silliest shit. I mean, because music is for everybody, but yeah, it was a lot of ignorance, man. More so on this side than I think anywhere else, because civilians was ready to act ignorant just to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think the crazy thing about that is one thing about Pac, I felt like everybody was ready to ride for Pac. Like, I don't feel like it was like that way over here with Big. Like, I was an extremist, like, you know what I mean, where
right.
Cash ready to ride for Pac. But here's the thing, one of the things I wanted to touch on was, Cash, tell me this. If you're looking at the history of West Coast hip-hop, who do you think are, I'm going to ask there two different questions. Who do you think are your three dopest spitters out of the West? Your three dopest spitters. Not song makers, none of that shit. Just straight spitting. Who are your top three?
Of all time, off the West? Okay, if we just go on spitters, I'm going to have to say Cricket Eye is definitely one of them. I will go back to my man Rico Tash from the Licks. He's one of my favorites, And a lot of people probably wouldn't remember him or don't got too much. And he was kind of off kilter, but it was this cat named Saphir from this group called Hobo Junction up in the Bay. His crew literally waxed hieroglyphics on the radio in a live battle, and hieroglyphics was the shit at the time. And back in the day, I did this independent album, and I opened up for him. But this dude, Saphir was the nigga that got killed in Menace to Society. He was Cousin Harold. That's Saphir. You know what I mean?
He's a rapper.
So, yes, but that nigga was on some, like, if he was to come out now, he would be comparative to like the Earl sweatshirts and shit like that. And I can't even answer your question honestly, Kill, because I think fucking Tyler is incredible. I think fucking Earl's incredible. Of course, I think Kendrick is an alien. It's so much. There's so many. But if I had to say top three, I would probably go in that direction if we just go on bar for bar shit.
Yeah, it's funny because I think a great point that you made was just about how so much is intertwined. Like now, when I see Nipsey, I'm just like, I don't, of course he screams West Coast, but I love his album. You know what I mean? So like you said, it's so intertwined that I can't see it being hard for that argument to start. Greg, tell me this: top three spitters from LA. Who you got? Or the West Coast?
The West Coast. We talking born in the West Coast or just as we know him from the West Coast?
They rep the West.
All right. I'm going with Corrupt. He's from Philly, but that dude is straight West Coast. Cube. I got to go Cube. And the last one, honestly, I'm going with Razkaz, man.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Going with Razkaz.
All right, cool. What about you, Ed?
Gosh, let me think. I got Corrupt. I was gonna name him. I know Exhibit is from Detroit, Michigan, but he reps the West Coast. So I gotta say Exhibit. Right. And Crooked Eye, I put him up there too.
All right, Porsche. What about you?
I would say probably King T, Cube, and Razkaz.
All right. What about you, Jens?
King T.
I'll go Casual from the Hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
I'll go Bishop Lamont.
And
I'll go with the Sophia too. I think Sophia is dope.
All right. And I basically got the same thing that Cash got. I got Crooked because Crooked is a beast. There's so many people who have no idea about Crooked, man. Every time I hear somebody talk about Slaughterhouse, they like, oh, the whack dude. I'm like, y'all have no fucking idea about him. I think he's whack. Again, Tash. And J-Ro never gets no love, but J-Ro was dope too, man. I know
J-Ro was catchy, Kill. It's different. He was catchy.
Yeah. J-Ro was dope too. And then I just got switched up with Corrupt. But tell me this, before I let everybody go, Cash, you are the West Coast. You like the West Coast Department B reporter, 5B reporter. So tell me this, man.
No doubt.
Because we was going back and forth. Tell me this. Who are the 3 most important people to West Coast hip hop? And you could break that down any way you want. You could say, well, this person is, the person who brought it out. But when you think of West Coast hip hop, who are the 3 artists that you think are the most important to West Coast hip hop?
Okay. That's a dope ass question. One, I'm gonna have to say Ice-T. I'm gonna have to say Ice-T because Ice-T was the first to really get national recognition. With the movies, the breaking, and his time on the East Coast. After Ice-T, I'm gonna lump NWA in as a collective. What they did for the West Coast is you can't knock it. And I'm gonna also say I want to lump in Too Short and E40 and them in as far as what they brought as far as the independent game and just opening the door for the Bay, because as a whole, the West Coast ain't the West Coast without the Bay. So that's what I would say.
All right, that's what it is. All right, Porsche, we good? We straight? We still cool? I'm opening my ears. I listen to Pot. I listen to DJ Quik. I listen to Face. I'm listening to everything y'all throw at me. I've been listening to. I'm trying to get my
Face is South, but yeah.
Same thing. But I'm just, y'all say all I want is East Coast. But yes, I do think the dopest hip hop group ever is from the South. I do that. You know what I mean? So, but Rec, give them all your info, man, where they can get at you, where the new mixes and everything.
So Twitter is at DJ Rec1. IG is Worldwide Rec1. And the SoundCloud, I'm not going to give it because I'm revamping it. Come the new year, it's going to be a whole new site. So don't even sweat that right now.
All right, no doubt. Ed, give them all your info, good brother. Ed, give them all your info.
Oh, sorry. It's Eddie D80 at Twitter.
Man, talk about the joint you and your wife got now, man. You got the L Facebook Live show.
Oh, word. Yeah. So me and my wife, Jasmine. So if you're not familiar, y'all wouldn't be. My wife, Jasmine, she's a matchmaker, dating expert. She's been doing this for over 10 years. And she came up with this idea to do a Facebook Live show. So, we'll link up together. We talk about topics. Right now, we're still kind of working through some technical kinks. The second show got recorded. We're probably going to post it up. But we're going to do it every week. I'll try to post the links and you can check it out. It's going to be dope.
All right, no doubt. Porsche, give me all your stuff.
At Cherche La Porsche on Twitter and IG. That's it.
Yes, give him everything, good brother.
I just want to say how good it was to finally meet Cash. Chopping it up on Twitter from time to time. So good to finally meet you. Dig what you do, music, all that good stuff. Everybody, glad to be involved as always. And that's it.
All right, no doubt. Vern, give him everything. This dude, I can't explain to you how much music he does. Half the time when he asks me for advice, I'm like, slow down. I love his drive. I never thought I could meet anybody who puts out more music than me. I bow down to this dude. He puts out, and it's not just quantity, it's quality too. So that's the other thing too. But give him all your info, good.
I'll check it out first and foremost. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite. Right now, I got the project out steady. All streaming platforms is Burn, VRN. It's on Twitter at Dinero World. It should be somewhere in my pinned link, as well as the IG and everything else. Other sides to click.
All right, no doubt. You already know what it is with me, Kill889 on Twitter. IG will make beats for food. I will check y'all next week, y'all. Good looking out.
See ya.
Okay.